Everyone in Japan knows this story. The fisherman, the turtle, the palace under the sea, the box he's told never to open. He comes home and centuries have gone by. That is a version Japanese children are given, and it is about 500 years old. The oldest surviving records are 1300 years old, and they are not children's stories. In one of them, the story sits inside the official history of the court with a date on it, the way you would record a war. In those records, there is no palace and no princess called Otohime. The turtle carries him nowhere. He catches it on a hook, and the ending is not the ending you are told. 3 years, 300 years, one box. This story is in the Chronicles. It is in the Nihon Shoki, the official history of Japan, completed in the year 720, and in a fuller telling from the same century, a provincial record from Tango on the Japan seacoast. The version you probably know was written down about 800 years after that. I am a Japanese storyteller, and I return to the Japanese sources to bring their words and their world into English, with some moments dramatized for a modern audience. Tonight, the old one. In the province of Tango, in the district of Yosa, there was a village where the Tsutsukawa River met the sea. A man lived there. The record calls him Shimako of Tsutsukawa and says he was also known as Urashimako. Later ages gave him the name you know, Urashima Taro. The record says he was beautiful and that there was no one else like him in that place. It does not say he was kind to animals. That came later. He fished alone. One time he took his boat out and stayed out 3 days and 3 nights and caught nothing at all, not one fish. Then on the 3rd night, something took the line. What came up over the side of the boat was a turtle. Its shell was 5 colors. He did not put it back. He laid it in the bottom of the boat, and because a man who has not slept for 3 nights will sleep anywhere, he lay down beside it and slept. When he woke, the turtle was gone. A woman was sitting in his boat. There was no land anywhere. He asked her the only question there was, "Where did you come from?" She said, "I am not a person of your world. I am from the house of the immortals. The wind and the clouds brought me here." And then she said something stranger than that. "I heard of you. I came because I wanted to." She told him to close his eyes. The wind came up under the boat, and the boat was carried away. When he opened his eyes, there was an island ahead of them where no island had been. Its ground was paved with jewels. It was quiet in a way. The sea is never quiet. She brought him to a gate and told him to wait there. 7 children came out and looked at him and said to each other, "That is Kamehime's husband." Then 8 more children came out and said the same thing. Kamehime, Turtle Princess. It was the first time he heard her name. He asked her who the children were. "The 7, she said, are the stars you call the Pleiades. The 8 are the Hyades, the rain stars." Inside, her mother and father received him the way a father receives a son-in-law. Politely, without any surprise at all. They sat him down and explained, carefully and kindly, the difference between the world of human beings and the world where he was standing now. Then they stopped explaining, and there was wine. The record does not describe what followed as a trap or a spell or a punishment. He was happy. They were married. It never says that time behaved strangely on that island. It does not need to. He stayed 3 years. Then, one morning, something in him turned toward home. He thought about his father and his mother. He thought about the village. And the village he thought about was the one he had left, unchanged, because that is what everyone thinks. He had been away 3 years. He wanted to go and see them and come back. He told her. She wept. She said, "My heart is broken." Then she took him to her parents, and her parents did not argue with him. They said what people say when they know something you do not. "Go then, if you must go." At the shore, she gave him a box. The record calls it a jeweled box and tells us nothing else about it. She said, "If you ever want to find me again, hold on to this box and never open it." He said yes. Of course he said yes. He was going home for a few days. They put him in the boat and told him to close his eyes. He opened them on the beach at Tsukawa. The shape of the coast was right. The headland, the river mouth, the way the water came in, all of it right. Nothing else was. The houses stood in the wrong places. The paths ran the wrong way. The trees were the wrong size. He walked up into the village and looked at faces and did not know one of them. He stopped an old man and asked where the house of the Urashima family was. The old man asked him where he had heard that name. Then the old man told him the strange old thing about his own village, the way you pass on something you were told as a boy. There was a man of this place called Urashimako. He went out alone onto the sea, and he never came back. That was 300 years ago. The record says he went round the village for days, asking, and found no one he knew. And then, on the shore, holding the box, he did the arithmetic that everyone in this story does eventually. 3 years. 300 years. He thought, she is in here. Some part of her is in here. That is why she gave it to me. He opened the box. Something came out of it. The record calls it a fragrant form, like an orchid. It lifted off his hands, and wind and cloud carried it up into the blue sky. And he understood what he had just opened. He does not run in this record. He does not shout. He weeps, and he turns back the way he came. And then he does the one thing left to a man in an old Japanese story. He makes a poem. And her voice reaches him once more, across whatever now lies between them, in a poem of her own. Once, not again. The account ends in poems. One of them, added later by another hand, says only this: if he had not opened the box, he could have met her again. That is where the old account ends. So where did your version come from? 3 things this story looks like from inside Japan. First, where it is actually written. Not in a book of fairy tales. In the Nihon Shoki, the official chronicle of the court, completed in 720 under the 22nd year of the Emperor Yuryaku, a reign placed in the 5th century. The entry is 54 characters long. That is all of it. A man of Tango caught a large turtle. It became a woman. He took her as his wife. They went into the sea together, to the land of the immortals. And then the chronicle says, the rest is recorded in another volume. We do not have that other volume. What we have is the fuller version I have just told you, the record of the province of Tango, from the same century and usually connected with it. That book is lost too. It survives only because a scholar quoted it hundreds of years later. There is also a long poem in the Manyoshu, Japan's oldest collection of poetry. In that one he runs and cries out and waves his sleeves at the sea. His black hair turns white and he dies on the beach. That is the ancestor of the ending you know. Second, everything you know that I did not say. The palace called Yugu, the old man he becomes, and the crane he turns into after that. Those come from popular story collections of the 15th and 16th centuries, along with the name Urashima Taro. The princess became Otohime later still, and the scene the whole story now begins with, children on a beach tormenting a turtle, was made standard later again by modern retellings and school readers that wanted a moral at the front. 800 years of retelling turned 54 characters of court record into a lesson about being kind to animals. Third, the name is still working. In Japanese, when someone comes back after years away and finds the world has moved on without them, we say they are like Urashima. Physicists borrowed the name too, the Urashima effect, for time that runs at different speeds. And on that coast, at Ine in Kyoto Prefecture, there is a shrine that says it was founded for him in the year 825. It is still there. Next time, a man walks home through the rain and is invited into a wedding. The bride is beautiful, the guests are all strangers, and by morning, the house is gone. If you want these stories the way Japan tells them, subscribe.